For me, the most important phrase is "Où est la toilette?" Because
Où est
you
la
never
toilette?
know. Yeah,
Où est la
where's the
toilette?
bathroom?
Hold on. Où est la toilette? We have a
Are you
mustache.
mustache twirling while you're going to the toilet? Like it's
Yeah.
I freelanced as a children's book illustrator between like visiting temples in the jungle in Cambodia or walking on the
Damn,
ocean
so
floor in
cool.
Bali and then editing
I'm getting
videos.
goosebumps. I don't think you can see, but it's goosebumps.
Hello.
Welcome to the Crispy Animator podcast.
Thank you for
being
having
here.
me.
Alejandro's right. Thank you so much for emailing us.
Yes.
Yeah, well, thank you guys for making this podcast. Like I was
Well, thank you for listening.
I was in Amsterdam a few weeks ago, like just feeling bummed out about like the state of the industry. So I forget what I Googled, but it was something like animation, like, just resilience in 2024 to see if anybody had shared any stories. And I think your interview with Brianna came up. And so
Brianna,
listening
you actually
to that,
said, you're like resilience was a keyword that you used?
yeah.
Okay,
Because I wanted to see
on YouTube, Spotify.
Yeah.
I wanted to see if anybody else was sharing stories like about, how they were coping. And so, listening to it was so helpful. So I reached out to thank you guys, and you very kindly
That's what we
replied.
want.
Here we are.
Well, first off, how was Amsterdam?
It was great.
Good question.
Yeah. All of Europe was great.
What else did you do?
Yeah, she's been traveling through Europe for a while now, and she keeps this travel journal. I'm so happy you shared it on Instagram, by the way, because it's amazing.
So you went to Amsterdam. Where else did you go?
I started in last October. We had done Spain and England, and then went home for Christmas, and then we came back out in February. So February was Spain. February was Italy. March was Spain. April was Portugal, and then I swung down to Morocco, and then came back up to Prague, Vienna, Budapest, France, Amsterdam, Belgium.
Oh my god, all the best ones. Oh,
Yeah.
Wait, I share.
Oh,
So this is her Instagram page, everyone. Please
love the
go.
setup.
I will tag her in the description as well. I love how neat your journal is also, because I love neat. I also love like crazy messy ones, but this is like if I could do this, this was my dream. One day I'll get to it. It looks amazing.
So what made you like start this? Like start with like the journal and then just, draw out everything.
And to do this whole tour of Europe.
Yeah.
It's because I lost my job. Yeah, I was working on the Ghostbusters animated feature last August. And I was going to visit the studio in LA to kind of work in person for a few days, and I was in an Uber like 8 minutes away from the Sony gate in Culver City, and then my producer had called and said the studio had canceled the movie that morning, like an hour before. So that turned into a really different trip. And so we had wanted to go to Europe a couple years before, and then it was kind of interrupted because I ended up moving to Montreal for a different movie. So we kind of went back to restart this trip, and then I just started. I started drawing again because in high school I went through 2 or 3 sketchbooks a year just for the fun of like loving drawing and being curious about the world. And ever since then, everything was in service of kind of like building a portfolio or getting the next job versus like just sitting and kind of observing the world. And so I've been trying to pick that up again ever since. And for a story artist, it's great mental training because you're constantly making choices about what you want to capture. And unlike with digital, like there's no undo. So it's also a great exercise to force your brain to keep moving and your hand to keep up. So you're building a great mental library of references.
Wow.
Yeah. And when you're traveling with like one backpack, every pound of weight counts. And by the end, I was kind of lugging 5 sketchbooks that I hadn't accounted for, but I felt like I had gained a skill back this year, which I wouldn't have expected.
Real
I'm a
quick,
storyboard artist, by the way.
Yes. Okay. So let's start from the beginning. Let's hear your story from how you got into everything. Storyboarding.
And please introduce yourself, your name, last name, and what you do.
Social
I can always
security
edit
number,
these
cell phone, email.
That is up to you.
References,
Don't listen to
mother's
Mr.
name.
Puzzle.
References, mother's name.
I'm Priscilla. I'm a storyboard artist, and I studied industrial design in Toronto, so I'm Canadian. And midway through school, I kind of realized I had no interest designing bicycles or camera parts. Sorry, Alejandro.
It's okay.
But I very
forgive you.
quickly knew what I didn't want to do, but not what I did. And so my first project was actually a coordinator at a design school. And I was 22, and I was looking at like multi-million-dollar business plans and budget lines and scheduling and managing designers and watching everybody else be creative when I was trying to find my purpose. So that took a few years of like searching and trying different things. And I learned to film and edit during that time. And I eventually like realized that I loved telling stories through camera, and I wanted to work in movies, and I wanted to storyboard, and I should have gone to animation school, and I didn't. And then along the way, I had also stopped drawing for almost a decade. And so before I could do any of that, I had to like hard reboot my career and rebuild my skills and portfolio from scratch. And this was the early days of like YouTube tutorials and online school. So I started doing classes with Schoolism, going to CTN, reading animation books, and saving money until I was confident enough to leave my coordinator job, which people thought was crazy at the time because it was union. And so if you get in your 20s, there's a conceivable future where like you can retire from that job with like a 6-figure pension.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's kind of like you start in the mailroom and you work your way up to
right.
Yeah, but I never wanted golden handcuffs to like be a reason I didn't pursue my purpose, especially if I knew I wanted to be creative. So I was accepted into Imaginism's concept art program. So we moved into Bobby Chu's studio for a month and then trained in digital painting with other artists from around the world. And then, yeah,
that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Actually really cool.
I don't think they do that anymore, but for a time, like I think only 4 people at a time get in, and you move into the house where they train their concept artists.
So you were one of the 4.
Yeah. And then my husband and I did the math.
Congrats. Sorry.
Yeah, and then we did the math and realized if I was building a portfolio with no income, like we didn't have to be in Toronto. So we moved our apartment into storage and bought a one-way ticket to Southeast Asia. And then I was freelancing.
Damn. I did not think that was going to happen.
I didn't see that either.
Yeah, it's a hard swerve. I freelanced as a children's book illustrator between like visiting temples in the jungle in Cambodia or walking on the ocean floor in Bali and then editing.
I'm getting goosebumps. I don't think you can see, but it's goosebumps. Yeah. That's like dream. How do you say?
It's just a dream.
It's a dream. It's a dream. Yeah, people would want that. Yeah. Okay.
We didn't know the term digital nomad at that time, but I ended up building my portfolio from all over the world. But I still wasn't specialized enough yet to get hired as a storyboard artist. So I took a job at a startup and kind of applied everything I had learned, like biz dev, character design, background, animatics, boarded on a short film, and then saved up money again so I could quit that job for no job. So that kind of became a recurring pattern in my life where the startup kind of taught me the importance of building a runway when I had income so I wouldn't worry about it later. And I think in this industry with animators, like being contractors, like it's always helpful to have that runway so that your peaks and troughs are less volatile. Yeah. And so when I wanted to focus on growth, I didn't have to burden my art with supporting my life before I was ready. And then I also had applied for work like crazy and got no replies. And then Chris Pern called. So he's the director of Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2. He worked on Open Season, Surf's Up, Arthur Christmas, Shaun the Sheep.
Love Arthur
all
Christmas.
The fun stuff.
Yeah, some of my favorite movies. He was the reason I wanted to be a story artist in the first place. I had taken his course and I met him at CTN and I had reached out.
So he called you?
Yeah, so I had reached out to him on Facebook and said I loved his work, and if he ever had, I was thinking like a side project, like I would be happy to like get the coffee, sweep the floors, like literally whatever. And he wrote back and said, give me your number. I'm opening a small shop in London, Ontario, and I have room for 1 or 2 more board artists, so let me know if you'd be interested, which for me was the equivalent of Beyonce calling it, being like, I'm going on tour, like, do you want to be a backup dancer?
100%?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, no tests, no nothing? Like, he was just like, come work.
He had seen my stuff before. Like I had shared, we had kind of messaged occasionally. He was also part of the Schoolism network. So we kind of met through Bobby, but yeah. So, but it's also, that's the kind of person that he is. He's incredibly kind. And I think he recognizes when people are hungry and he's willing to take a chance on people. So
damn.
Yeah.
We need him on the podcast. We need him on the podcast.
Shout out. You're amazing.
Yeah. So then I moved to London, Ontario, and then Vancouver, and I spent 2 years at Braun working on the Willoughbys for Netflix. And that was one of their first 3.
It was so good. I loved it so much. I saw some of your work on your Instagram from the Willoughbys. It's so well done.
Yeah, that was one of their first 3, Netflix's first 3 original animated features. I think it was Over the Moon, Klaus, and Willoughby's. And I started in production because that's where my background was. So I was coordinating story and edit, and I was a story revisionist. So some nights I'd finish my production work at 4 and then just work on my scene till 11. And those were some of my happiest memories on that show because I was just coasting on adrenaline.
Well, yeah, we both got worried.
No,
and she's like, no, the happiest memories.
That was great. Okay. That was great.
Okay,
I would have been. I saw it as like I would have been putting in those same hours if I was at school, except I was finally in the right room and I had like the best mentor that I could have asked for. And the more I outputted, the more feedback I got, and the more I improved. So like instead of going back to school for 4 years of animation school, I was working on a movie, and after a year, I was switched off production and boarding full time.
Oh, nice!
So there's no way you would have learned as much if you went to 4 years of animation school.
Yeah. So then that led to a job at Atelier on Fireheart, and then when that contract finished, I was originally going to go to Europe for a few weeks, and then I was boarding a plane to Greece, like heading to the gate when a headhunter messaged and asked if I'd come to Montreal to work on a movie with Redefine, which is one of DNEG's animation studios. And I got the offer like sitting on the sidewalk in Athens, like staring at the Acropolis, which is pretty surreal. So then, the Euro trip was canceled like a weekend, and then in 2 weeks we had moved to Montreal, and I was there for 2 years through COVID.
Okay, real quick. What does your husband do?
He's a philosopher.
Good question.
He studies philosophy. He's doing his master's, and it's a philosophy of AI, kind of epistemology and consciousness.
He sounds amazing right now because literally you're in Greece. He's like, yes, I'm ready. You get the phone call. He didn't like hesitate. He's like, all right, let's go.
From the very beginning, they just swerve and all the way together.
We also are both, I guess, kind of digital nomads. So it takes a partner that is also willing to have that kind of adventure.
100%.
Yeah. So then I moved back to Vancouver, worked on an early version of Meet the Flintstones for Warner Animation, Young Love for Sony, and then Curses for DreamWorks at House of Cool. And they were all still like, we're still work remote. And I was like, okay. So then I packed I have an 11-inch Cintiq instead of the really big 30-inch one. So then, fits in my backpack. And then we went to go see the Northern Lights. And then
so cool.
Headed to South America. So I kept in the same time zone so that we could work and do meetings. But in between that, like I was
smart.
Yeah, it's amazing. So I was in the middle of the street in Cartagena, like after lunch, when I got a call from Sony for Ghostbusters, which was a dream job. And that was in my...
The new one, the Frozen one?
No. So
Ghost
the
animated.
Corps, Ghost Corps has like 5 projects going on at a time. Like they have an animated TV show that they're working on. They had an animated feature.
Right.
Yeah. So it was the feature that got canceled. But we were in really early story development, and Jen and Chris gave us this huge sandbox to play in, and I was there for 10 months. And then that takes us to like last August when I went to visit the studio, and then
so you also got laid off August? What was August for everyone? Was a deadly month,
it's all
I
of
feel
us.
like. August 2023. Deadly.
Yeah.
And no, wait, before so how did you get all these little jobs here and there? Was it all your networks calling you up, or you like contacting someone you knew was working on a project,
or someone just saw your work and just reached out?
You mean from like all of the different board jobs? It was always somebody that I had worked with that ended up going somewhere else and then calling me, and and saying they were bored. So
so you didn't have really that much of a break between your jobs?
No.
But you got to travel at the same time.
I did.
Amazing.
Yeah, kind of just did the same workations. Kind of just did them both at the same time. Especially if it was work remote, like it suddenly nobody.
Your
minded,
companies
right?
didn't care.
Yeah. And I remember when COVID first started, like it was a huge deal because at DNEG, like it's that kind of studio where like you go in and like all the USB ports are sealed, like you can't bring in, you can't take stuff out, and suddenly they had to spend weeks just kind of like figuring out how to untangle the NDAs that would explicitly like prohibit artists from working remote. And then once everybody did, everyone was just cool with continuing that way.
I love to see how these companies were like, this actually works. Why haven't we done this before? I love that.
It opens up so many doors because like she's in Canada, but then we're in the United States, but then someone in Asia is really good too. And they're like, well, Yeah, if you can work our
it gives
hours, come.
opportunities to everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can make it, then we're fine.
Yeah. And I don't know how it works in the VFX side, where I imagine like if you're doing like the final shots of Wonder Woman and that could get leaked, but for boards especially, like I'm the first step in an animated feature after you get like words on a page, right? So there's nothing being leaked that like the things that we board, you know, we can board a movie 5 times and it gets cut 5 times before it turns into the real thing. Like there's none of the final
Ooh.
shots, none of the they're all
I got
drawings.
a question.
So.
How hard is it to keep it a secret when you're working on something and you're hanging out with like other people, and then like let's say you're working on Toy Story 5, we all know it's coming out right now. Like you're storyboarding that, but then when people ask you like, hey, how was work? What did you guys do today?
That's true, because we're right after you. We're previous artists, so we get your boards basically to figure everything out. And it takes a while for the movie to come out after we do everything. And you're a step behind us too, so it's hard to keep it a secret.
I know.
How do you? Yeah.
Usually when if the film's announced, then you get to say what show you're working on.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
Yeah, but
and then I drew pictures.
Sometimes it's like it could be like 4 years away from even being released. So you're just like, yeah, what'd you you know, in your interview, it's like, yeah, what did you work on? I worked on a movie.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Can you tell me more about the movie?
No.
It has a
plot.
Yeah.
It has a plot. There's an ending.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard.
It is, because like you got to show your work, and unfortunately you can't show your work until 5 years when the movie finally comes out, and then you're like, oh yeah, guys, here's what I worked on. Well, I've already seen the movie. It's
yeah.
Damn.
And you also kind of get out of the hype too by the time it's out. You have to get yourself back in, like, oh, these shots, that takes a while.
Yeah, and hopefully if you're 4 years from the time that you started working on it, your boards are also, and your taste and your drawing capabilities are also hopefully significantly better. So you're going back and being like, here's things I did 4 years ago. And
yeah,
now I would have done it maybe differently.
Yeah, exactly.
How different? So on the projects you've worked on and like your storyboards, how different is the final product from what you drew? Is there a lot of changes, or does it sometimes drive you crazy where you're just like, I like the direction I had. Why'd you go that way?
Sometimes they're 1-to-1. So on TV, and especially on TV, they're usually 1-to-1, because the boards get shipped off to like somewhere in Korea or the Philippines, where the animators are literally seeing that and then replicating it.
They usually get shipped out to Korea or Philippines?
Sometimes for TV shows, the boarding is done in-house, and then it's and then the animation's done offshore, I think for tax purposes or because of cost.
Of course.
Because they just don't want to pay us. That's it. We're more expensive.
And then for movies, sometimes it's the arguments that in the story room, or sometimes it's like a story point that you're fighting for, not necessarily how it's executed in terms of this shot and this camera angle, but in terms of the overall like story arc, or in terms of the trajectory of the plot, that you want it to go a certain way. So yeah, it's more like that. Like if you were getting the spirit of the story that you wanted to tell, or a certain character arc, then
that's so cool, because they get to talk about story, Alejandro, and me and you are just figuring out, how should this look? This camera angle could be better. Maybe we can do this, but
also,
we can never touch the story.
Super quick. It's just like, just get to the point. Just have them run across the screen. But like, what do you want them to do? No. Just have them run across the screen. Oh, fine. Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, it depends on the project. Sometimes we have freedom to know what the story is before. It depends.
It's very
rare.
small.
Yeah. So you've decided not to pivot, basically.
No. I love making movies. Like this isn't the year that I thought I'd be having, but I'm grateful for that, because what I was given instead is time to wonder. And I think that all of that, hopefully when movies pick up again, like you bring that into your work. Yeah. And I think that from a mental health standpoint, like our self-talk matters, like the way we reframe problems as opportunities makes a big difference. There's a huge element of luck in this industry, like finding the right connections, like being in the right place at the right time. But I also learned that like you have to go and find luck, like put yourself in the position for luck so that the possibility present itself. And then in the meantime, like use that time to keep doing something until you can do something else.
Okay. Was that your first layoff in your career or no?
I mean, for story artists, contracts end. Like it's
Yeah.
sometimes it ends because like it's not always like story all the way through to previs. Sometimes they do story and then they decide it's not working, so they lay all the storyboard artists off, rewrite, hire a bunch of storyboard artists. So like sometimes a
Ah.
contract you think is going to be a bit longer ends up being 3 months. I think with Ghostbusters, they had been developing it. By the time I got on, I was the second or third iteration of story. Like they had
Okay.
started, stopped. Yeah, until I think they wanted the writers to kind of have a bit more time to come up with the script.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. But
yeah,
was did this layoff feel different because you could see the
Yeah.
state of the industry?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
and it
Were you
wasn't.
scared that it's gonna be the? I mean,
Yeah,
I
To
take
say
the question back. No,
No,
I
no,
take
no,
it
no,
back.
no. Seriously, it's true. Or were you scared that the industry is just terrible right now? It's
yeah,
just
100%.
Yeah, you might have to pivot, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like I say that I've been productive and inspired and also struggling. Like I can tell myself whatever narrative I need to get through the day, but your body kind of keeps a different score, right? Like my heart rate, my Fitbit tells me that like my heart rate
Yeah.
and my hormones are have been pretty whack the last year, and I was on prescription muscle relaxants because I was like clenching so hard at
Oh,
night. So even though
man.
your days
Interesting.
are interesting and you're going to museums and you're doing this stuff, like your body can feel like something, there's still anxiety, especially because when I was in Madrid, like Frozen Empire had come out, and suddenly I was
Mm.
like, oh, this must be what it feels like breaking up with Taylor Swift, because like everywhere you go, you're feeling this heartbreak, and like here's movie posters everywhere of this great thing that like reminds you all the time of the thing that they had
Yeah.
redone the subway station, so like the ghost was there, and yeah, like you're going everywhere you go in the world, like it kind of follows you, right? And then you have to
I've
figure
never thought of it that way. Yeah.
How
It's like
long did it take you to get to this mindset, though? It took me months to be okay. I
Mhm.
mean, like you said, physically you still go through it, but your mind starts to cope and understand and accept. But it took me months. Was it faster for you because you were used to the, I don't know, the industry getting laid off, coming back, getting laid off, coming back?
No, I'm still struggling. I think
Mm,
it's one of those things where you can feel all of those things at the same time, and it's
right.
okay.
Yeah.
Like there's moments where you feel like bummed out, and I mean that's how I found your podcast, and then there's
Mm.
moments that you continue on and you keep doing other stuff, right? Like life keeps going, and I kind of like made a list of like I always wanted to board a fight sequence and learn fight choreography because I usually get the really emotional acting scenes, or I always wanted
Mm-hmm.
to spend more time improving character design or learn better French, or like I have a huge reading list, so I've got like shit to do, and you're
Yeah.
sad, but you're also like here's all these things that like were on my to-do list, and I can either mope and not do it or do it and then see what happens after, right?
virtual hug. Virtual hug.
Or
I make a playlist for whatever type of scene I need to board. So if it's a
Oh.
racing scene, I was doing like a lot of Fast and Furious songs, or kind of like high
Ah.
tempo aggro songs. And then sometimes, yeah, if there's like a sad scene, I'm basically borderline crying the whole time I'm drawing. But Sorbet, one of the books I read this year was Rick Rubin's Creative Act, and he talks about when you go through times of volatility or just a low period, it's seeing yourself as a main character of your story, where it's like I wasn't expecting this plot twist, and I wonder what's going to happen next. There's always a next scene, right? And the hard times are kind of the we work in movies, right? So the hard times are the required setup to allow whatever the next act is to happen, whatever new possibility. So the story's not over,
Mm.
and that was really
That's a
helpful.
great way
Yeah.
of seeing it. I'm going to read that book. It's necessary now. I'm gonna go right now after this. I mean, Saturday, I have time, and I've been buying so many books. That's one
Me
of the things that's really
too.
been helping me. I shifted from so in the beginning, I used to watch a lot of TV shows and movies after the layoff, and it was just sucking all the energy out for some reason instead of giving it energy. So then I shifted to I say shift a lot today. I moved on to I moved on to books, and it's been amazing. It just calms my mind, and I just get immersed into the stories. I mean, I do read a lot of fantasy books, so it's world building and everything. It helps, but it also helps the creative juices. So
Big time.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm definitely gonna go get a book, that book right after this.
Are you reading it like hardcover or like on a Kindle or audiobook?
No, no, I love it in physical form because
Okay,
I
good.
look at screens so often and like I want something real. And I really like the idea, like I always growing up like the idea of being in a coffee shop. I'm from Iran originally, and like we watch a lot of Hollywood movies, of course, like everyone else. And the idea of this person reading a book with a coffee at a coffee shop was always really romantic to me. So now I'm trying to do that because I try not to go out a lot to spend money, but this is one thing that I allow myself. I go to this one coffee shop that I love. It's like European style, and a lot of women go there for some reason. Like there's always women sitting, and a lot of them are reading books. So I just go to that coffee shop. That's my like, what is it called when you need to reset your mental like health? I go there, read my book, have a little coffee, and it helps. Oh, what do you think about AI, Priscilla? Because storyboard artists, I think it's harder for them
Yeah.
because it's for you. I mean,
Storyboard artist married to a philosopher who is studying
I was hoping you would bring that up yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, we've had a lot of talks about it, obviously, but I think
Mm,
people talk about AI replacing jobs like it's happened before with industrialization and automation, but I I always felt like farmers farmed because they needed to feed their families, like not because they were deeply passionate about yams, right? Like it's
Yeah.
if
it's true.
versus like when you get into artist jobs, like I love working in animation. It's more than a job or a vocation. It's a purpose that challenges my capacity to be at my best, right? So from a neurological standpoint, it's less about um, the automation of, oh, I got to find another way to like pay my bills. It's a massive dopamine
Mm,
withdrawal because you are taking a step back from working on something that pushes you, like that you're excited to get out
mm,
of bed for. Um, but I also think that like demonizing AI is kind of missing the forest for the trees. Like AI as a technology as a
I
whole
agree.
has made significant contributions in the world. Like it's been advancing cancer research, it's been cleaning up the ocean or climate change mitigation. Like this feels more at its core a people problem. Like it's people who want to prioritize profit, which isn't
Hmm.
new or unique to AI.
Yeah.
And if they discovered that they could harness unicorn tears to replace artist labor, like we'd be canceling unicorns, right? Who are by the
Yes.
like they're inherently agnostic in this conversation. So sometimes it helps when you take a step back, especially because like Europe is the history is really old, but like
Unicorn. Sorry.
yeah, like we'd be striking against and they have no
Yeah.
dog in this race, right? Like the AI is not going to the studios and saying, "Hey, let us replace these jobs." It's
Yeah.
people who are seeing. And so in June, I was in Normandy and I got to visit Monet's garden in Giverny.
Hmm.
And in his time,
Yeah.
the major technological disruptor was photography. Like a lot of people speculated that artist jobs would be canceled, they'd be over because a still photo could now do in seconds what artists spent months doing, right? Like you would sit for
Hmm.
like a portrait, you'd have 5 or 6 sittings, and now you could just take a photo. And the Impressionists kind of took this opportunity to disrupt the field and experiment with style and color, which photographs can't do, right? So
Hmm.
there's a human touch to that we can still bring. Like it's AI is in the picture, um, but it's not the be all and end all.
The interesting thing for me is the fact that everyone we've interviewed so far about AI, we've all, and myself and Stormy included, like we hate it. Like it's like why? But like in your eyes, yeah, it's gonna be there. It's just it's
I
not
also
gonna.
feel like demonizing AI is no help at all. Because I have friends around me where they absolutely hate AI and everything about it is negative. They're gonna steal our jobs. It's gonna come take over everything. But I agree with you. There are, if it's done correctly, and this deal, for example, is done correctly, I would love AI's help. Honestly,
Hmm.
like in post production, sometimes we have to what was it called, Alejandro? When we
We do a
damn
lot of things, so it's pretty tough.
no, like when we have to go frame by frame and take something out to replace the background. Wow, I'm also
Rotoscoping.
forgetting rotoscoping.
Yeah.
Rotoscoping takes so much time, and if AI can do that, that would help the client's budget. Like I, as an artist, do not need to waste my time clicking through, getting clean lines to replace something that could be done in seconds with an AI tool. So there are so many good things about it. We just have to do it right,
Yeah.
use it right.
It's also that humans are resilient. And, we went through when 2D was transitioning to 3D, we've had a lot of these conversations about technology and
Mm-hmm.
what technology can do for us, and kind of developing the kind of framework and guidelines for how it can be used to enhance our work.
Mm-hmm.
But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, there's also it's human centric, where I want AI to do my laundry and dishes so I could draw pictures. Like, I don't want it to draw pictures for me, so I'm stuck doing my own laundry and
Yep.
dishes, you know.
Please.
Is there any advice that you'd give anyone that's listening right now that's probably going through like these tough times and like
Mm-hmm.
struggling through it? Like, what would you recommend them? Like, hey, this helps me, or hey, go do this, or whatever. Is there anything that you would tell someone?
Just keep doing until you can do something else, right?
Hmm.
It's just kind of doing the next step and the next step. You don't have to plan years or weeks or months in advance. We don't know what's going to happen. And if, you know, there's anything that I've experienced in my life, is I can make plans and then none of the plans go to plan. And so,
Yeah.
you know, you kind
Yeah.
of make the best decisions you can with the information you have, and just, you know, if today's a tough day, just focus on the next hour. And if tomorrow's a tough day, just focus on today. And then we'll worry about next week and next month. And yeah.
That really helps me personally. I 100% support that idea.
Yeah.
If you get a job that's far, far away, like in Australia, would you move? But we already know that you would definitely move.
Yesterday.
Drop of a hat tomorrow morning. Yeah.
But
Okay,
I
and then
would
the
give
other-
up the remote immediately in exchange for being
You
able
would,
to work.
that we forgot to ask that. So you would rather go in?
Yes,
You're not going. Go on.
I miss being in the story room with people.
Mm.
And so I would move to make that happen. Like, the work remote's been fun, but it's kind of like the thing where if I can't do the thing I want to do most, I do the next best thing, and make sure that my plan B is just as awesome as the plan A.
And then the last question was,
You asked. Yeah, go.
yeah, what if it's animated, or what film or TV show inspired
Or
you,
game.
or game,
game.
true, I'm sorry, game,
Yeah.
inspired you to pursue this path
Career.
of storyboarding, career and everything, if there is one?
When I was young, I would love watching like Disney Afternoon and all of the like Disney Renaissance films. But it wasn't until I was watching, this was like 2010s like era, where I was watching Ratatouille, that I realized, people can do this for a living. Like, that this could be a job. I didn't kind of put that together and be like, and it requires drawing, and this could be something that you can do as a vocation.
One of the things that I really want to change, hopefully with my next business or even with this podcast, is to show people around the world this can be someone's job. We've heard this from so many guests, from so many of my friends, and me myself had the same thing. It took me years, and I don't remember what that made me realize, this can be a job. This is what I can do. And then it clicks. You're like, this is what was missing from my life. This is why I couldn't figure out what I want to do with my life, because I didn't know what I wanted to do existed as a job. So I really hope we can spread the word.
Yeah, and those art of books made a huge difference. So Tangled was the first one that I had seen in a bookstore, where you could, open it up and be like, there's all the art. It wasn't just the thing that you see on screen. There was a whole process and a whole life that happened for this movie to get to where it was. So.
Yeah, art books are amazing. I especially, I'm not a huge gamer, but game art books, those concept arts, my God, they're amazing, and they inspire me all the time. Even though, like I say, I don't draw. Even if I want to get into a shot, I flip through some of the pages, and then the world builds.
I have a question for you guys.
Okay, go for
Please.
it.
What does it mean for an animator to be crispy? Is this an aspirational state, or is this an adjective to describe somebody whose work is like amazing?
That's all Sorme.
So when we started, we both like compile a lot of names, and this one hit both of us because we both felt like we were burnt to the crisp, so we're crispy in the state of the industry.
Wait,
so
really?
We're crispy animators.
That's it? I thought it had to do something with your bird.
My bird? Did we have different ideas about the name this whole time?
Yes, I didn't know that.
What does Crispy have to do with Louis?
I don't know. You talked a lot about with Louis. Actually, we've never had this conversation before.
I thought you had wow.
It was a great therapy session for everyone.
It's amazing.
Yes.
No, I felt crispy. Like I feel like we as animators or as artists in the industry, we feel a little crispy right now. Not that we're going to stay crispy, but right now we are crispy.
As in burnt adjacent, like burnout adjacent?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I was trying to get at too.
We're not like burnt completely, but we're like chips that are crispy chips. So you can break, but you're delicious. Like you're still at a
So
good
we're
state.
like fresh bacon that you put on a frying pan, and then as
Yeah.
it slowly cooks, you get to a point where it just
Crispy part.
gets crispy super quickly, and that's us. And then as soon as it's super
Like you're
crispy, you just
close to
toss it out.
Yeah,
Just
you
toss it out.
eat it. I mean, you're so close to getting burnt, but you're at that amazing stage of crispy.
And then we're at the burnt part, right? We're at the burnt part where
No,
it's
we can
just
decide where we are. I mean, we're called Crispy Animator, not Burnt Animator. We're just close to it because of the state of the industry. Wow, I'm so glad we had this conversation.
I am too. I'm
Do you
learning
not
so
agree?
much. No,
Do you not agree?
yeah.
Well, okay. Okay, good.
When I saw
Yes,
the term
that's
crispy, I thought it was, you know, the hot sauce, like the chili crisp, like
Mhm.
the hot chili oil.
I thought it was
That's
that.
what
I
we-
thought it was like spicy.
That
Like
actually is
spicy
maybe that could be
cakes.
better. That could be better. Let's switch.
I
I'll
mean-
just edit this whole part out and I will say that when you ask the
No,
question.
you keep it. You keep it. No, I think that is true too, because I think
Yeah.
we both made it clear that we didn't want to be like really easy on the podcast going like, oh, it'll be all right. Don't worry about it. It's like
Yeah,
gonna
we
call
wanted
you
to
out.
ask the hard questions.
Yeah.
Maybe we didn't start that way, but we're trying to get there. Like talk about the hard parts more
Yeah.
and
'Cause
AI stuff.
we shouldn't be scared about it at all.
No
We
one
shouldn't
should be.
Yeah.
No one should be. If someone wants to pivot. I'm pivoting halfway. It's okay.
And it's okay to call people out during these times, because I'm sorry, it's terrible, and you just need a place to just, hey, say it and do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it makes people feel less alone.
And that's what we want.
100%. Yeah. Well, Priscilla, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you so much for your email, because honestly, for everyone, for our audiences, Priscilla emailed us thanking us for the podcast and saying how much it meant to her and how much it helped, and basically told us who she is. And that's how we met. These kind of messages really help support us. I mean, also, like and subscribing really supports, huge. But these messages also really help. So thank you
we
so
won't
much for
ignore
that.
it. We're not gonna ignore it. We're gonna answer you. We're gonna we'll talk.
Oh, it's not just about answering; it's how much it affects us as human beings and podcasters. So, it meant a lot. Thank you for being with us today and helping us figure ourselves out today in this episode. It was amazing, inspiring us to travel, inspiring us to continue being positive in these hard times.
Stay crispy, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.